are good. All right. Hello, everyone. This is Chris Ingerson, and it is July 23rd, and this is the July 23rd TextQuest Devstream. So, today we are going to be walking on screen. We're also going to be doing coding today. We're going to be finishing up our work on the Woods Layout Manager. We started refactoring that last week, and I was hoping to get to it this past weekend, but my schedule kind of did not manage to open up enough for me to do that. So I do have objects spawning in. We can actually go ahead and move in here and run around. Um, but I do not have wrapping or recycling sections working quite yet. So that's something that I would like to work on today. We should be able to finish it up today because once we have those two things working, that's basically the entirety of the spawning. Um, Also, I wanted to show off the blue forest one last time, so you can see that the woods are not going away as we get far away from our entry point there. What should basically happen is because this level is going to have so much fog, um, I don't really see much of a reason to render all of these things and do all of these light map calculations because all of this lighting has to be done real time due to the fact that it is dynamically spawning in. Um, So to help offset the performance hit from that, basically what should happen is as you get far away from certain chunks, they should despawn. Currently that is not working in the new system. That's what we're going to be focusing on to start. And from there, we need to get, I'm going to start running over here. You'll see a null reference pop up. There we go. You'll see a null reference that popped up right there. It's basically specifying that saying an index or an argument is out of range. I am assuming that is because of the fact that it's trying to access a section that is not inside this collection. So it's basically not able to find it properly. Um, Although I'm not 100% sure, that could be wrong. Woods layout collection line 29. Let's see if you open up. Of course you don't. Open this up real quick. So 29. Still can't get over the blue forest. I don't know why, but that blue forest is just really, really funny to me. 29. 29. Clutter? Oh no, sections. Here we are. Interesting. There is. I'm guessing it's this then? So it says 29. I guess let's see what the error is before that. 29, Woods Layout New 125, which is down here. 125. What? Woods Layout New, line 125. How does that get to line 29? Collection.get elements 125. Okay. This is something completely different. This is a completely different script. So, huh. Okay. Okay. I suppose. Well, no, that shouldn't really matter. Um, hmm. Perhaps. Am I missing something here? I have to be missing something here. So, Woods Layout Collection. Ah, there it is. I was looking at the wrong thing. Woods Layout Collection 29. Woods Layout Collection 29. I'm guessing that was that line then. Ah, yes, I think I know what it is. So I need to go to Layout New. Pretty sure I know what I did wrong here. We want to go down to buffer sections. Well, is that the case? Actually, let's follow this all the way through just to be sure. Layout new 125, 263. Right here is for sibling buffers. Right. Okay, so it is buffer sections. So I'm going to go to get buffer coordinates. I'm going to go to this. This is a function that I wrote basically to automate some of how the calculations for what should be included are, or what coordinates should be included in the buffer region for each section. And what we want to do here is, I suppose what we really want to say here is instead of say if that's greater than size x, we want to say if it's greater than or equal to size x. And same thing there. If it's greater than or equal to, good. If it's greater than or equal to size y, that should basically handle that. Let's try that again then. All right. I'm also quite vexed that Fmod Studio Listener is constantly being spammed to the warning or to the console, even though I do have my own version of that. I guess it just wants it to have an actual 100% match version of it. It's stupid. Um, I am going to set this to have an index of 0. That should at least fix the index out of range exception that we were getting there. All right, so let's try this again real quick. Should fix the problem that we were seeing. Okay. Run around here. Ooh. A Stack Overflow exception. Now that's a fun time. At least it did spawn things kind of correctly. I think this is section... I'm pretty sure that this is the section I wanted. And that's the ancient tree, which means that it's overlapping with each other, which makes sense because, again, we're not cleaning up properly. Let's figure out what is happening here. So it's constantly 198 and 271. Let's see here. 271 is our wrap buffers. I can see why we would want to do that. That might be a problem. Hold on, let's see. So the problem I think that we're getting into is basically, so this is 271. That's the first line. The other one is probably when we start spawning the buffer. So basically, when we spawn section buffers, this is a separate call from spawning a section. But when you spawn a section with a buffer size above 0, which you can see, well, right here, that's what visible area is, and that's what this 0 is. So if it has a value greater than 0 here, it will call spawn section buffers, which might in turn call spawn section, which might in turn have its own visible area, which actually, now that I'm thinking about it, well, no. No. Trying to think about this. Yes, I suppose that's fair. Okay. Yeah, all right. So we're gonna go ahead and change this. Actually, we will say, how do I want to handle this? So we're not overflowing on, or we're not having a stack overflow on the buffer sections, but we are in the wrap data. And I'm assuming that's because when we spawn our wrap section, it's immediately trying to spawn the section that just called it to spawn. So we basically want to axe that. The challenge there becomes, well, so this might be because I'm being overly cautious. I might not need to basically have this I might not basically need to spawn section buffers for. Well, no, you have to have some amount of visual buffer that gets spawned on wrapping sections. Otherwise, when you teleport to those sections, you'll have one frame where you can basically see the void. Granted, there's a lot of fog, so it doesn't look so it looks kind of um, obscured, but you can still see a little bit of a pop in. So I basically need to have at least an immediate surrounding of a section. That's a wrap section. And if I don't, I'll get that pop in. So I need to pass in a certain amount of buffer area, but I don't want it to spiral. So what should happen here is basically at the bottom here we get to buffer size is greater than 0, spawn section buffers. We're going to come down to here, blah, 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 blah. And we're calling spawn section buffers with a buffer size. That's all fine. Perhaps I should pass. Well, that's very vexing to me. Okay. So I guess. I guess I could pass in a bool that says don't spawn buffers, perhaps, to this. That's vexing. That's really the only way I can think. But I mean, if I passed in a 0, that would also work. So I need to pass in a buffer without including wrap buffers. Perhaps that's what I need to do. Gross. Okay. No, no. This is annoying. I'm basically trying to think through every scenario that I can to figure out when I don't want to call this. Um, so let's just give it an example. This is a problem when we get to a point that wraps around. So we want to basically say, okay, I get to the edge. I need to spawn the wrapping target and the immediate surrounding areas. But I don't want to spawn any of the wrap buffers for those things. So I guess that does mean that the easiest thing for me to do here is just say bool spawn wrap targets. And then we're going to do this. Well, actually. So I suppose what we'll do here is we'll just copy this. I'm just going to change this. So we're going to say if spawn wrap targets. We're going to change wrap data up here. We're going to grab this, put this here. No reason to grab those lists otherwise. Okay, so we want to say blah, 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 blah. We're going to have to basically copy this. Come up to here, same thing. Spawn wrap targets. Okay, and here we're going to say false and false, I think. Can we? No, because that's just gonna. They're just gonna daisy chain. Well, no, I guess they're not. They'll just get down to here, and then they'll be fine. So I can probably just do true here. Okay. Let's try that. Compile. All right. Ooh. Oh, right. Sure, why not? Let that compile again. All right. So in theory, this should basically have everything spawning correctly. Let's see if that'll give us a Stack Overflow problem or not again. Because it ideally shouldn't. But we'll find out. Okay. Okay. Okay, so we got a null reference exception. But it does look like it's spawning. So what are you? Wood section 110. Right wrap target. Okay. Okay. So you're not getting set then. That's what I was a little afraid of. Find all references. Override max x is equal to what section, what's layout? Right here. Section wrap targets, spawn wrap section. I suppose that kind of makes sense. That just means that I should have to come down here and say, how do I want to handle this? Gross. So Wood's layout warp data is basically just a very quick struct that tells you the coordinate and collection of the thing you're wrapping to or warping to, but it doesn't tell you what that's associated with, unfortunately. So I could add that, I guess. Oof. Okay. Because that would let me assign it to this particular section, which would work, I suppose. All right, fine. So let's go ahead and we're going to say, let's go to this. I hate having this be like this. Can I actually do an enum inside of a struct? I've never done that before. Enum test. Can we do that? Okay, I guess you will. So we're just going to make you be a byte. Ugh. Okay, fine. So this has to go. I have to make this into its own thing. Oh boy, wow. All of those fun things that happen if you accidentally start compiling. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get rid of you. We're going to come down to here. Of course it compiled right as I was doing that, so we're not going to be able to move for a good, like, 10 seconds. All right. What's that new? I am not a fan of this, but sure. So, Woods layout warp direction. I hate having a full enum for this, but honestly, I can't think of a better way to do this, so I guess we'll do this. All right. Make this an enum that derives from byte. Text request, of course. Since it's an enum, we don't have to worry about this. So this is just going to be top, bottom, left, and right. targeting, I guess, basically. Public woods layout warp direction. Direction is equal to, oh, right, it's a struct, so that's not the thing. Direction, the warp is associated with on this section. Okay, so this is going to take chord collection ID followed by a woods layout warp direction. This dot direction is equal to direction. Let's go ahead and put that in the correct order. Okay. Top. Okay, so this is right, left, and bottom. All right, from there we can now go over to woods layout new, and we can simply say I guess we'll just do it this way. It's a little bit longer overall, but it's more compact. So we're going to say switch wrap data of I dot direction case dot top break case dot bottom break case dot left break and finally case right break. Okay, so now we're going to copy this, paste this, and we're going to say sections of collection ID of chord dot right wrap target, I believe is what we want, is equal to this. I'm going to copy that and paste it a couple more times. So this is top wrap target. Really? Right, forward wrap target. Back wrap target. And then left wrap target. All right. So let's go ahead and let that compile. Try again real quick. So trying to think of anything in particular that's exciting that I've seen recently. I feel like this is a pretty quiet time for game development. It's post E3, pre Gamescom, pre fall, so there's not really a lot coming out. Clear all this fun stuff. Try this again, and let's see what happens. Since we're not despawning anything, we don't have to worry about cleaning up our event listeners or anything like that. Okay. I think that's correct. So it like dumped me way over here, which is roughly correct. I think the only reason it didn't work is because I kind of got put into an area that should have despawned stuff. Excuse me, I had to sneeze. Oh. Alright, where are you? Was that new 125? 125. Collection. Oh? Am I missing a collection? Seems highly unlikely, but I suppose it's possible. What's that? Entrance, crossroads, fork, graveyard, trident, apple tree. All of that seems correct. It's 6 and 6. How interesting. Perhaps because... Well, no, that doesn't make sense. I was gonna say maybe the collection was null, but that seems highly unlikely. Let's go ahead and try that, I guess. If collection is equal to null, debug.log collection ID. Let's just see what that does. It did seem to have us wrap, though, which is good. All right. I suppose that this could actually somewhat be mitigated if I were to... let's see, where is it? We'll prefab get collection offset right here. So this isn't actually being... Oh, well, I guess it is right there. Section position. But this is not actually being used in the spawning. So, how do I want to handle this? So all this does is say get collection offset. So I guess I could do that. Get section position. Actually, that's a good question. When I spawn these things, spawn. Section size. Well, I suppose it's that. So I guess this would just be get section position based on cord and collection ID. Let's see if that does anything unexpected. So it's section size times cord x 0f section times collection size y minus 1f. Collection offset, which is just the size of it, I believe. Cord.x times section size 0f collection.rows. That's interesting. Dot count minus. Why would I do it that way instead of just calling section size collection size dot y minus 1f minus cord y? Times section size. I kind of feel like this is actually less useful, so I probably do want this to be collection dot size dot y. Why is the question there? Okay. Well, for sake of convenience, I'm going to keep that, and I'm just going to try that. So I'm going to say collection dot size y minus 1, I guess. Why that matters, I do not know. Minus cord dot y. So let's just see what that does. So I think that'll actually spawn everything more sequentially. That way we don't have partial spawns on basically having them overlap and be in the same area. Ah, man. I did not get a nap in today, so I am quite tired. Normally I try to catch like a 20-minute nap before I can do a Devstream, just so that I'm not falling asleep at the wheel here. Also, it makes me more chatty because I'm somewhat well rested. But combination of hot temperatures and lack of sleep is not a enthusiastic MC make, I feel. Okay, looking good, looking good, looking good. I'm gonna try sprinting over here. We might see it. Yep, spawn in the distance. Hey! So yeah, it was a problem of us basically having everything overlap. I do like having everything spawn like this. It is super jarring though to see it be very far away and then suddenly be there. But it is nice that it's still is functioning properly. So in theory, actually, if we wanted to, we should be able to navigate all the way around here. Thank you, GeForce. This is really difficult to navigate. I'm pretty sure this is the way I want to go. Ooh, oh my. I have no idea where I am. It's so hard to tell without the section spawning in. Oh, it's chaos. I can't tell. It's wrapping in on itself, so I'm kind of getting confused. Ooh, we did get a null reference though. Where did you come from? None. That can't be right. Um. Spawn section of none. I am assuming. Let's see. It's 127. Yep, 280, which I think is our spawn wrapping area. 280, 280, 280. Right here. It is our wrap target, which makes this. I'm going to go over to here, get connection data, go to definition. We basically just say type.none. Wrap bottom, wrap left, wrap right. Okay, that's all correct. Bottom, top, bottom, left, right. Top, bottom, left, right. Interesting. So, curiously, actually, I thought I wrote in a safety feature to basically ignore things that have no collection. So when we ID. Okay. I suppose that means that one of my things is targeting none. So let's go to SOS, text quest, woods layout. We'll go to entrance. Let's go ahead and scroll down here. I don't think this is a problem actually with this one, so let's go to graveyard. Oh, these are backwards. Path end down. Path end up. Fair enough, I guess. These are backwards though, so let's go ahead and change that to path end down. And see, that's the thing. I'm a little confused. So I'm gonna cheat here. So I need to go to icons, I think. Look for icons. Woods layout section. Woods layout section icon collection. There we are. Where are you? Let's see here. So path end up. Okay. So yeah, those are just backwards. So we want this to be path end down, and we want this to be path end up. Cool. We're gonna go ahead and save that, and then I'm going to. So we don't have to worry about the graveyard because we're not doing anything with that. So let's come back down here. Crossroads, I think, is the section with the tree. Go ahead and deselect that. all this seems fine. Here we go over to Trident. Trident. None, fork. Here we are. Okay, so this should be itself, basically. I actually, oh, yeah, I guess that's probably correct. So, right connection. So these actually probably shouldn't be displayed when our wrapping is set to self, as opposed to none. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Okay. Let's do that to reduce confusion, I guess. Let's close you. Close you. Let's lay out element. Find all references. We're gonna go to our property drawer. Look at you. We said do some fun calculations here. So basically, we actually want this to say if this is equal to, instead of none, we're gonna say target. I think. Yeah. Let's go ahead and get rid of you. Get rid of you. Get rid of you. Make you equals. Make you equals. Okay. And then we'll come down here, clutter, wrap top, wrap bottom. And instead of saying does not equal none, we're going to say if it is equal to target. Probably just go ahead and copy this. All right. So let's go ahead and let that compile. That should fix my little usability issue there and make the coordinates go away, because there's no reason to show connection ID and top connection coordinate if it's set to wrap to itself. That's an irrelevant thing to know. So this should help reduce the confusion that we were having there. Next, but that doesn't exactly solve our problem. Because that's the problem. Okay, I got you. Also, what is this? Oh, yeah, that's fine. Whatever. Okay, so we can close this, and we're gonna pop back here to Woods Layout New. Now, basically, what I need to do is when we come down to here, spawn section, blah blah blah, blah spawn section buffers. Here we are. Get connection data. We're gonna go to definition here. So if it's equal to none, instead of saying top connection ID, we have to basically check, do a safety check here, and we're going to say wrap top is equal to self question mark. If that's the case, we actually want this to just return the current section that this belongs to. Ooh. Ooh. We don't know that, do we? That complicates things, of course. So we need to know which Woods layout collection ID to target. But if it's a self, we don't know that because the layout element doesn't contain information about that sort of thing, because that's not particularly relevant. So instead, we're going to have to pass in a value here, I guess. So find all references. There should only be one spot. Okay. So we'll pass in collection ID, I suppose. Collection ID. This is essentially the ID for the collection that this section is being spawned into. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to here, and I'm just going to add a woods layout collection ID. This will just be called collection ID, default collection ID, I guess. Default collection ID. Okay, and then we'll go ahead and just say this. Otherwise, it'll be top connection ID. Top connection ID. All right. So we're basically just going to copy this and paste it several times here. Boom, boom. Okay, that should make it function as we would expect. Now we shouldn't have to worry about randomly being flung to the far edges of the universe because it doesn't have an ID. All right, so we'll let that compile. I think that was just what our problems were. So this should fix that. And also, just because I can, I am going to look at the prefabs for the spawn sections. That way all of the substances will properly generate and we won't be looking at a blue forest anymore. Sad as it is, you know, it's probably better for us to not be looking at... come on. There you go. Ah, crap, you might just be blue forever now. We'll find out. Hold on. Mausoleum. Okay, so you can see that all those are spawning in. Trees. Oh, come on, you can do it. Alright, so if I drag you in, maybe you will. Nope. How sad. I guess that means that I have to manually do this, which is a little unfortunate. Turn off emission because there's no point in that for those. Let's go ahead and... I hate having to do this. We'll just say generate all outputs. That's going to force it to refresh. Then we'll uncheck this. Okay. Let's go ahead and delete you. I'll save. Real quick, I am going to grab everyone else. We have the tree wall, which itself also, again, same thing. We're just going to call generate all outputs. If I can find it. That forces substance to refresh. Do that. And the last thing we should need to do is for the grass. Oh, I guess the giant tree bottom probably should have it too. Generate all outputs. This will just make it a little bit easier to move around once we're spawning sections in. Mostly because I want to make sure that my sections are also spawning the correct grounds. And if I have different, if I just have solid blue everywhere, that makes it kind of difficult to do that. Trees, center, we're all good there. Good here, good here, good here. Section angles. We should be able to go ahead and do this. And this is different because we're actually using textures that are found here, right? So we want this to be generate all outputs. Turn that back off. And then dirt, which should be about here. Again, generate all outputs. Turn it back off. Okay, so let's try that again. So now when we spawn in, everything should be using actual materials instead of our sea of blue. And we should also not have a mad chaos of a teleportation happening. Okay, so we're looking good here. We run off, you'll see the tree spawn in the distance. Looking good. Come over to here. Wow, that like worked out perfectly. I knew it! I knew they were backwards. Ah, you tricked me. I knew they would do that too. So those two sections have wrong IDs. Okay. I don't know why I'm doing that one. I can probably just call open. Oh, apparently I can't. Ooh, how interesting. But we do have a null reference exception. Interactive. What? height. Yeah, that's something that needs to change a little bit. Fair enough. Well, let's ignore the mausoleum, the graveyard for now. Although I should probably fix the sections with those IDs. I'm going to try running back to the Trident area and just making sure that I don't get any weird null reference exceptions involving just teleporting around. Okay, we're looking good here. We're looking good here. Where am I? I don't even know what this is. I think. Oh, this must be the apple tree. I think. It's kind of hard for me to remember exactly where any of this is. No. Pretty sure that this is the apple tree then. Yes, this is definitely the apple tree. That's why I put you there. Huh. Okay. Whoa. Where even are we? Oh, hey, look at that. We are now at the north side, which I'm pretty sure that these things are all broken now, so I need to fix the gate and the mausoleum. Okay, let's do that then. And also, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and say, in my woods layout test, I want to do some quick adjustments. I would like to basically do what this is doing, so we need to say cache player camera, far clip plane, spawn sections. I suppose we could do that, so let's go ahead and grab this. We're going to go to woods layout test, and we're going to come down here. We're just going to have this be hero. Okay, hero dot main camera. What in the world is this? Oh, right, clip distance is just a value up here. I'm going to go ahead and grab this. I'm going to put that in the test. That way I can kind of set this. I'll say private float, whatever this is, 0f. So that should handle that. Dot main camera. Okay. The other thing I need to do is fog, which is somewhere around here. Come back over to here, and we can just do this. All right. Next, we need to adjust our sections. So we're going to need to go to section prefabs, and we want end down, I guess. So these are basically the reverse of what they should be, which is odd. End left, end down, and end up. Darn it. Yeah. You got me. You got me. Come on, compile. I believe in you. Just barely, but I do believe in you still. All right. I guess these can just be reversed. I don't know why they're upside down to begin with. Let's go ahead and put you here. Yeah, okay, so they are just kind of messed up. They're backwards, basically. This is end down, new. We need to change this to path end down. And then path end up. Up. Okay, that should fix that problem then. And in addition to all of that, we want to affect our clutter. So I need mausoleum. This has to be fixed, and I also need my walls. So I need graveyard gate. Alright. So we're gonna lose focus here. Okay. So for graveyard gate, we are going to call, let's see, graveyard gate, base fence gate, listening animation module, left, right, graveyard gate, we have our door model module, it should open. I'm assuming that this is just massively outdated now, and this is just not something that works. No. Oh, that's interesting. It's because it's targeting an old thing, I guess. Okay. Shed open is open. Okay. I'll set you to be a bool, I guess. I'll call that to be data value set. Close. Let's go ahead and adjust this real quick. This is a bool set. That to be false. All right. Let's just try that. See if that works like we would expect. So we're going to apply those changes. Get rid of you. And Mausoleum is going to have something similar, albeit a little bit easier to work with. So we're just going to go ahead and say, double check that I'm doing this correctly. So I suppose that's difficulty door is probably what we want. Yep, okay. So we want this to be a difficulty door instead of a difficulty object, and then we're going to move normal Sierra. I'm gonna put you here, and then get rid of you. We're gonna come down here. We're gonna add a door. We're gonna come down to here, grab you, clear this, hit update. Sure, that's gonna break some things. Of course, it will. So I'm not going to worry about that for now. We're just going to come up to here to door. I'm going to grab, boom, boom. Don't have to worry about that. So let's just go ahead and hit apply there. So that should fix those two things. All right, let's see here. The next thing that I need to do is, let's go to our layout. Section prefabs. Clip distance, that should be fine. Let's go to lighting, fog. Debug settings, other settings, fog. Here we are. And I believe if we go to enable post-process effect fog, that should handle. Wow, really? Come on. Grab this. Interaction, sound controller, player. Where are you? Sound controller, interaction, script, menu controls, camera reset. Did I put you on the main camera? FPS camera, Bob, screenshot, fog. Here we are. Fog effect, which is here. Okay, yeah, we're good. All right, let's go ahead and collapse that. So in theory, now we should see some amount of information on fog. I probably should check real quick what my settings were over in the woods. So we want to go to woods. This is Woods layout test, which is right here, making sure I can get back to it. Exponential squared is this value. Is that correct? I suppose. Alright. Exponential squared, 0.01. Okay. Go ahead and let that go. Turn off fog. Hit save, and let's try this again. So in theory, this will spawn everything, and we will have fog rolling in, so we'll be able to see what everything looks like. Also, hello, Scorpio. That is not any fog that I'm aware of. Yeah. Hello, Scorpio. How are you doing today? Also, welcome back. I'm hoping that that comment wasn't there for too long before I noticed it. Interesting. I suppose I should just turn this on then. Interesting. No. So, okay. Let's go down here to, let's see, look object, main camera, post-process layer, camera. You have fog enabled, but it's not visible for weird reasons. I think something's messed up there. Let's pop back over to, let's see, let's make sure I'm going to the right scene too. Woods. Yeah, that's correct. Okay. Lighting. Exponential squared. Deferred. Suppose we can check out post-processing to make sure that this isn't. No, it's not doing anything particularly weird. Huh. Okay. 0.1 exponential squared. Oh, 0.01. There we go. So I'm going to raise that to 0.1. Let's see. Not too long. Just been buying and selling some Steam trading cards. Trying to get some foil cards from booster packs. Alright. I never really got into the like card component for a lot of Steam games. Obviously, I get the cards because they give you, I think it's like 4 or 5 as you play the game. But I've never really gotten into collecting them. Mostly because I feel like a lot of developers don't put a lot of effort into their cards. Ooh my! So, that honestly makes me think that I need to add 4, make that 4 buffer. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and stop this. We're gonna jump over here to layout, and I'm gonna bump these up from 3 to 4, and have the wrap area still be 2. Let's see if we're good with that. So visible area was too small at 3. I think 4 will make it all hidden the way we would expect. It's super interesting to see this like thick fog mixed with very strong light. Okay, so we should basically never see the edge pop in. We did see it there, which is interesting. Maybe I just need more buffer space, I guess, there. So I think we see the edge of the world before we teleport, basically. But everywhere else seems to be going pretty well so far. Let's see. I do wish that my shadows were less terrible. Oh my. Ah, you got me. I forgot that was the decoy that sent you all the way back to the beginning. Let's let's go ahead and run through here. I'm pretty sure that we actually want to basically just go left there at that fork. Yeah, this just takes you back on an infinite loop. And then this should take us over here. Apparently I need to really reevaluate where the position is on these things. Let's see here. Admittedly, at this point, it's mostly me being a little curious to try and remember where my own layouts are. So we're going to go ahead and come over to here. This should take me to the top. Yep. All right, let's see. There we go. Nice. Trying to get some rare foils so I don't have to spend 22 bucks. Oof. Yeah, it's a bit rough. Let's see here. Oh, interesting. It's funny. So you can hear the grass footsteps, but I'm guessing this is me way over here. Yes, at least it's a sprite renderer, so it like cuts through the fog. It should actually be detecting the gravestone. Uh-oh. I appear to be frozen. Okay. Not sure what's going on here. I can't move. Are you going to make some text quest trading cards? Yeah, my plan was to try to integrate with all of the extra features that Steam and Good Old Games and all them have. Um, from what I've seen, it's not crazy difficult to do trading cards. It's basically like there's a template and then you fill that all in. I think actually Scorpio, you might have been the one who sent me a file about that a while back, the PSD for it. Because it's not too crazy to get that stuff up and running. Seriously though, what is going on here? I am like totally frozen. This is interesting. Huh. Okay. What is going on? Hero and scene don't destroy. Click to ping it. What's going on here? Is something spamming my console? So my main thing that I was going to show you is that these gravestones should have basic grounds on them, which should be being detected. But what the frick? They're an ignore raycast. No wonder they're not being detected. What is happening? Hold on. Something's gone horribly, horribly, horribly wrong. And I wish I knew what it was. We're going to have to take the nuclear option here. So I believe that this is... Come over to here. We're going to go down to... I think it's local disk. Users, me, app data, I think it's local Unity. It's actually probably local low, I bet. Editor, okay, editor log. Right here. It's, oh, I was going to say it's wiped. MGUI container. Cross-scene references are not supported. Hero and scene don't destroy unload. Click to ping it. Has 0 mesh area. Terrible things are happening here. Wow. 53,000. Okay. Well, I am assuming that the reason it is setting its layer is because of Pool Manager. So, yeah, that's it's not great. Um, yeah, could go better. So, oof, interesting. So we gotta deal with that, but that's something we can deal with in a second. Aside from that, everything does seem to be spawning in as we would expect. We are, of course, not getting. Let's see. We can turn off fog. Um, so you can see that that all of our individual sections are spawned in now, but they are not being cleaned up properly, which means that even though even though we're not over here, we do have the cost of holding these things in memory. Now, we're not really doing too much with this stuff. Like, it's not really an absurdly large amount of memory that we're eating up. I am actually a little bit curious, but almost all of this stuff is using the same materials. It's the same grass, it's the same dirt, it's the same tree material. Um, so we shouldn't be running into texture memory consumption problems. Really, it only comes down to what is the performance cost of having. Um, God, how many trees is that? This is a forest. There's a lot of trees. Uh, be loaded into memory, but not necessarily be rendered because they're being rendered right now because I'm looking at them in the scene, obviously. But the player's camera, if we zoom in on it, come down here. So if we look at our player, you'll see that we have a frustrum culling range of 35 meters. It is very tiny. So basically, we're not really doing much in terms of cost. I am curious. So you can see it's rendering about 47 batches, about 41 set pass calls. It looks like everything is batching pretty much. So yeah, we have like 200 some saved by batching. Uh, we have barely over 10k tries. Um, Pretty good frame rate. I don't think that this tells me anything about my texture memory, but overall we're getting pretty good results as far as the actual performance goes. But of course, this is also on my computer, which is not a standard machine, although I guess it is getting up there in years. So all this seems to be working. Not crazy about that, but it works. I think I was smart enough to move things so that it was all right there. So the mausoleum's all looking good, but I got turned around. Wait, did I? I didn't. Are you listening to each other? Did you open because the other one did? Yes, you did, didn't you? Crap. Okay, well, whatever. So those things need to have their texture or their values updated anyway. I probably need to make these separate prefabs. Actually, now that I think about it, they probably need to target separate IDs. Otherwise, they might. They're just going to open and close when each other opens and closes. So yeah, whatever. For the time being, I should be able to run back here and see. I don't know what's going on with that too. Pay attention to the left side of the screen. I think this might just be with what my lighting settings are. But you'll see the triangle pop up there. Kind of see it over there to the left. It's very hard to see, and it seems to be based on my. Oh, I guess that could be it. It could be that my clipping plane is creating that shadow effect. possible. You'll see it like pop up and back down a little bit. So this should take us back to the tree. All right, so now we have everything spawning in, basically. One more aerial shot just for fun. So those are our major sections. Looks like it's only 5, which means that I missed one of them. Don't know which one. But now that we have that working, yawn. Sorry. We need to get the other part of this working, which is despawning things, because the entire idea of having things be dynamic is that we can despawn them when we don't need them. That way they're not being loaded into memory. I am really curious to see this, though, so I'd like to see the profiler. So we are going to turn on a bunch of stuff. And I'm just going to run through here. And we're going to see what everything looks like in terms of memory consumption. Because like I said, most of this stuff is batched. And since everything's static for the most part, this really shouldn't be too much of a performance problem. We're just going to run through here. We are, for the most part, still hitting 60 frames per second. We are having the occasional garbage spike, but overall we are handling everything. Looks like we have about 0.75 gigabytes of memory being used so far. Let's go ahead and run through here, try to really bump that up. Meshes, we are only at about 3 megabytes. Textures, we're only about 60 megabytes. So that's pretty good. Go ahead and run off here. Still looking at about 60 and 3.5. Run through here. It's pretty nice. We're actually not seeing stuttering like I would expect, and this is with the profiler open, and the profiler is actually pretty CPU heavy. So with all of this, I think we've loaded in basically all of the materials and substances that we need. Now we have. So we're at 63 megabytes for textures and roughly 4.2 megabytes for meshes, of which there are 257 meshes loaded into memory. That said, the ones that are loaded into memory are always going to be there, so that seems about right. Do I really have 257 separate meshes in this? It's possible. That'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm not going to count up to 200 from here. Because that actually seems too small for the total number of items, or total number of sections that we spawned. But in any case, about 83 materials, 100 some kilobytes for that, which is pretty good. Only 14 animation clips, 57 audio clips, which is a bit high, I think. That must be from the hero character. Total objects in scene. Oh, interesting. There apparently is a difference between total objects and total game objects in the scene. I don't know if that means that it's loaded into memory or if it's just literally in the scene. But we have 12,000, almost 13,000 game objects in the scene, which seems about right. Let's go ahead and stop. I'm going to keep an eye on those total values from the get-go. So I'm going to go ahead and clear this. I'm just kind of curious to see how this builds up. Mostly because I do like to know what my performance ratings are. Alright, so by default, when we start, we have about 1,200 game objects in the scene. We're looking at about 63 megabytes of textures, so that really doesn't change much. Meshes, we're at about 1.9 megabytes, so that roughly doubles by the end. Materials, about 108 kilobytes again. 14 animation clips, about the same. Audio clips, still about 13 megabytes, which is, I have to assume, mostly coming from the player. So yeah. So we go from 1200. Wow, okay. So we just skyrocketed up to 1800 game objects in the scene, which seems high. I really, though, like that just seems like a lot. I don't know, maybe it's counting a bunch of UI elements. I could see that. Well, anyway, so let's go ahead and focus on despawning things. So we're going to come back over to here. We can get rid of you. We can go ahead and say woods layout window old. We're going to collapse you. Woods layout collection, get rid of you. All right. So woods layout new. Now we need to basically, currently we do have section spawning working when you enter a section. Now we need to despawn all of the sections. Well, now we need to despawn the sections as you leave them. So we're not going to actually despawn the immediate section that you left. Instead, we are going to want to basically despawn all of its buffers while keeping all of the buffers for the current section active, which is going to make things difficult. Okay. I want this to be a tree. I'm basically trying. So the next thing I basically need to think about is how do I want to recycle and despawn these sections once you leave a section. Because the idea behind the system that I'm using is basically each one of those individual prefabs for each section of the woods has a trigger on it, and when you enter it, it will spawn all of its section buffers. So you can see here, that's what it's doing when we enter a zone. It spawns all of its section buffers, including the immediately visual ones that are its siblings, as well as any wrap targets that it has. And when you exit, it should basically do the opposite. When you exit a zone, it should despawn all zones that are buffers for it, but not despawn the zones that are buffers for the zone you are currently in. So I suppose what that means is I basically need to get information on what things need to be spawned and despawned at will. So fortunately for this, for us, we do have a function in our woods layout collections that we can basically give it a coordinate and the buffer size, and it will give us a list of vector2 ints back. So that tells us basically what buffer values we can have. So we can easily get a list of what buffer sections are siblings to the current section, and we're not going to despawn those. That's pretty trivial. The tough part is going to be wrap sections, because we're going to essentially do the same thing. Just, well, oh, and also this isn't supposed to be the visible area. You're supposed to be the wrap buffer. No wonder you all looked fine. Ugh. Hold on. Scroll all the way back up here. Wrap area. That's what it is. Wrap area. Yep. Wrap area. Okay. Paste that in there. Paste that in there. All right. Hello, Garrett. Welcome back. Also, I feel bad that I didn't have this over here so you all could see the profiler, but we were actually hitting a pretty decent 60 frames per second for the most part, except for these spikes that we occasionally had. I am not entirely sure what was causing those, since we didn't seem to have any particularly large explosion of garbage that we were getting. Anyway, so that compile once it feels like it. So I guess this 80 kilobytes is probably what that explosion is. A fixed update. I'm not entirely sure what's causing that, but I'm not going to profile too much on the air because profiling is a pretty memory intensive process. And if I profile too hard, it will actually affect my stream because my CPU will just get demolished. So we are going to basically despawn these things. So I guess that means we're just going to do this. So we're going to say list vector2 int current buffers is equal to new vector2 int. We're going to say current buffers dot add range, and then we're just going to say I need to get my sections. So I guess we're going to do this first. So say element dot get nope, not get connection data. What are you? Buffer sections collection dot get buffer coordinates. There we go. So we want to say collection dot get buffer coordinates coord, and then buffer size. Oof. That's a good question. I suppose it would be visual. I'm sorry, not visual. Visible area. There we go. So we can do that. Go ahead and copy this, paste it back here. This time we are going to say instead of visible area, it is going to be wrap area, I believe. And this is going to be, instead of get, oh, no, I'm sorry. Wait, nope, that's correct. Hold on, I'm trying to think about this. Current buffers. I guess it's basically this. So we're just going to go ahead and say for int I equals 0, I is less than current section index. That's not what I wanted. Peak definition. Inhabited sections, there we go. Inhabited sections dot count I plus plus blah blah blah. We're gonna go ahead and grab this, and we're just gonna say instead of collection given this chord, we're gonna say inhabited sections of I with visible area. Okay, that should basically give us a massive list of all of the things, or all of the vector 2s that we have that are currently in the buffer. From there, we're gonna need to get rid of the others. This is gonna be fun. These fun section buffers. How do I want to handle you? So, one player exit zone. We basically want to remove this object, or this coordinate, from the currently inhabited sections. Let's see here. Inhabited sections, current buffer.add range. That's fine. That gets us our buffers. I suppose we can just directly do that then. So I'm going to go ahead and say sections of collection ID dot remove chord, except we do want to cache that, so I need to say wood section is equal to sections of collection ID dot, no, not dot, of chord. That should give us our actual game object. Then I can remove it from the list of sections. From there, we need to handle clutter, which I think is already being spawned. Walls are also being spawned. That's good. Wrap targets. Am I doing anything with you? No. You might be irrelevant, actually. I'm not sure if I need wrap targets anymore. Oh, especially because it's dictionaries upon dictionaries upon dictionaries. Yeah, I don't. No, that wouldn't really. Well, it gets to be a bit expensive. I'm trying to think of ways to optimize this algorithm so that I'm not going to dig through every single thing to check a value, but I'm not really sure that I can optimize it like that. Um, okay. Hmm. So let's go ahead and scroll back down here. Spawn section. So we'll say despawn section buffers chord collection ID. Basically put that down there. Actually, I'm not entirely sure if we want to do that at all. So I might not do that there. Let's come back down here, despawn section buffers. So we have a list of all of our current buffers. I suppose that we also need to have a list of woods layout warp data. So these will be warp buffers. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, and then from this we can say, actually we can do this in the same for loop. So we're just going to go ahead and say warp buffers dot add range. Say not collection. Instead, we're going to say sections of collection ID of inhabited sections dot get crap. What was it? It's from the actual element, isn't it? Yeah, get connection data. Okay. So that means instead, do I really need to do this? I guess I do. Have I? Let's go over to here, go to definition. I suppose I basically need to have a duplicate function here. That's the element. That's not what I want. I want the section. Yep, pretty much. Okay, so we'll have both of these things return that, I suppose. Might as well. So we're going to go ahead and copy that. Come down here to with section. Initialize. I'm just going to come down to here. I'm guessing that I don't have system, so using system.collections.generic. Do. And then left wrapping, I suppose, is what we want. So this is top wrapping, I'm assuming. Top wrapping. Yep. Oh, right, it's forward wrapping. And then back wrapping, left wrapping, right wrapping. Okay. So we need the coordinates, which means this is still dangerous, isn't it? So I should probably say, instead of does not equal none, this should be is equal to target. Because there's no reason for us to send warp data if it's warping in on itself, basically. So let's get back there. Let's go back here to woods layout element. I suppose that's somewhat mundane because it won't actually do anything if it spawns itself. Excuse me. I tried to cover it up, but I failed. Alright, so now we can come back to here. We're just going to go ahead and say, instead of top connection, it's what? Left wrap chord. Okay, so top wrap chord. Or forward wrap chord. Yep. So I suppose that actually means that get connection data is even more pointless now. I don't need this default. That simplifies all of that, which is nice. All right, so this is forward wrap chord, which of course is a vector 2, so let's change that to vector 2 int. Dot 0. Let's just paste that for everything here. Boom, boom, and boom. But I don't remember if I answered your question, Garrett. I'm sorry. It goes all right. Could be better. It was a busy weekend and it was very stressful. Could have been a little bit better, but it was a fun weekend, I suppose. So I'm just kind of getting back on track. Trying to get everything caught up. How have you been? All right, so this is going to be forward wrapping. Oh, collection ID. Forward wrapping collection. Terrible. Okay, so this is back wrap chord. Back wrapping collection. Left wrap chord. Left wrapping collection. Right wrap chord. And right wrapping collection. Alright. Pretty nice and straightforward there. Probably we can simplify this now because those shouldn't really matter. So we can just kind of go ahead and get rid of this. It's always nice to be able to clean this up and not have unnecessary code. Let's go ahead and call this find all references, get rid of you, boom. Right here, so we're going to say dot get connection data. All right, so that includes our wrap buffers, so we get to do all the fun stuff there. Oh boy. Cool, so we're going to do some nasty for each loops. So we're going to do for each collection ID. For each collection ID, collection ID in sections dot keys. You are gonna keep doing that. You're right. So we'll call you col ID, I guess. Okay, transitioning from prototypes to making the game. Always fun. Are you talking about your game? I'm assuming, not Manifold. Oh man. So sorry for all the yawning. Okay, so for each one of those, we need to basically do another for each loop, because section. Well, I guess. Nope. Yeah, it is a dictionary. So, and then we're basically going to do for. Well, no. Yeah. Okay. So then we're going to. Hold on. Let's do. So we're going to say if col ID is equal to collection ID. So this is going to be sibling buffers. Else wrap buffer, not buffers. Okay, so if it's sibling buffers, then all we need to do, then we need to basically just look through current buffers. So we're just going to say if current buffers dot contains sections of col ID. Still need a for each loop, don't I? So this is going to be for each vector to int pose in sections of col id dot keys. And all we're going to do here is say if current buffers dot contains sections of col id of pose. No, because this is the pose. So we just want to say if it contains pose. So if it does contain that, or if it doesn't contain that, we're going to want to do something. So we're going to say if not that. Then we're going to despawn that, basically. So we'll say despawn section pose and then col id. Pretty straightforward. So if it's not in our list of sibling buffers, so the visual buffers, that means we don't need it. We can despawn it. Okay. Next, we're going to call wrap buffers. So for that, I need a drink. Because my throat is like super not sketchy, not stretchy, scratchy. That's the word I was looking for. So otherwise we want to go through our wrap buffers and we want to say basically the same thing, I think. So we're going to go ahead and copy this. And here we're going to say in sections of blah, 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 we're going to say if, crud. Yeah, that's going to suck. Okay. Okay, so we have a for loop here. For int I equals 0, I is less than, wow, 2 for each loops and a for loop. Blah. I is less than, what's it called? Wrap buffers. Or warp buffer, sorry. What am I doing here? Warp buffers, that's what it is. Warp buffers. It's less than warp buffers dot count I plus plus. And all we're going to do here is say if warp buffers of I dot collection is does not equal col id. We're just going to continue. We don't care about it. Otherwise, we're just going to say so something to be aware of, and this is one of the, I guess, niceties of having this massive dictionary upon dictionary approach that we're taking. It is impossible for two. I basically don't. I no longer have to consider if a section is visible or a wrap buffer. So I never have to. I don't have to consider if it's a visual buffer or a wrap buffer because it can't be both of those things. It can only be one. So I no longer have to do. In the previous layout manager, I had to do this weird thing where I would check the buffers that were visually next to you, and then I would check the buffers that were wrap targets. I no longer have to do both of those. I can do just one of them because it can't. It's impossible for things to be both. So that's a nice thing to have. So now I can just say if it's not the col ID, I can skip it. Don't have to worry about it. And then the next thing I'm just going to say here is if warp buffers of I dot coordinates. Trying to think about how I'm going to do this. Sorry. Basically, we just want to see if this is the same as equal to pose. So if that's the case, then we're going to continue. Then, so if it's not in the same collection that we're examining currently, we can skip it. And if its coordinates are equal to a position, then we can skip it. Because that means that it is in the wrap buffer for an active section, so we don't want to get rid of it. I think with just those two things, will be fine. So from there, I can basically say um, break, and then I want to remove you. So, oh dear. Okay, that's not good. So despawn section, once I call it, the problem is that it will remove these things. So get rid of these things. You can see that we remove our coordinate there, which is going to cause problems in our for each loop. So I think I actually want to convert these to an array. Oh, no, that is not okay. Yeah, that's not great. So the problem is that so these things are going to be modified and having things removed from them as I'm looking at them, which is a big no-no. You don't do that because it basically just causes problems. um, so, crud. That means I can't call despawn within this for each loop. I guess I could try this. List vector to int poses positions is equal to new. I can give it a range. Yeah. So we can try this. I think that might work. Yes. Okay. So with that, I can kind of do things in a more efficient manner. So instead of having this be inside of a for each loop of something that could potentially get things kind of messed up. Well, maybe I'm overthinking this actually because I'm removing it in pieces like that. We'll see what happens if I call despawn there. I'm curious. I'm sure nothing good can happen, but we'll try it anyway. So despawn section buffers, and we're just gonna say pose and then col ID. Let's try that. We'll see if it causes problems. If it doesn't, great. If it does, then I'm going to cast everything to I'm going to cache it into into a list, and then I will run through that list and remove everything instead of removing it directly from the object that I am referencing at the moment. I think it will be fine, but we'll see. So when you're transitioning from prototypes, what all are you currently transitioning, I guess? Are you just moving from a like gray box structure to a more official capacity, or are you like adding more in-depth mechanics that are building on the work you've already done for your prototypes? Okay, so that's compiled. Let's go ahead and clear all these fun things and see what happens here. Things are either going to go swimmingly or terribly. It is one of those two. It is always one of those two. All right. Okay. I have no real frame of reference. It's clearly not despawning, though. This should have gone away by now. Did I tell it to call despawn? Oh, there we go. Well, that's part of the problem now, isn't it? Despawn section buffers. Chord and collection ID. I am not entirely sure if I need these things anymore, but we'll see. Yeah, adding the UI, proper spawning, proper project layout, all the real game stuff. Project layout is paramount. If I could, I would have a manifesto written up that basically explains the terribleness of third-party folder structure. Okay. So we are going this. Let's try this again. I've prototyped enough that I know my idea should work. Now to make it real. Nice. Nice. Is this the first time you've really worked with assembly definitions then? Ah! It despawned the one thing that I was on. Wow. I have never failed so spectacularly like that. Not only did it fail to despawn the things that it should have despawned, but it only despawned the section that I entered. mm, mm. Excuse me. That was that was amusing to me. I think the problem is that I didn't tell the zone as I entered it to add itself. So I probably should say, let's see, yeah, with third-party assets too. I mean, getting them to work with assets. Yeah, it's assembly definitions are really annoying for third-party assets that do not have them. It's great if they do have them, although admittedly I have not used a single third-party asset so far that actually used assembly definition files, which is very infuriating. Um, but if they can do that, in theory, it would actually make things a lot cleaner. Um, Off by one for my for my failure. I think what happened, yeah, is that I'm not telling. I didn't add the zone that I entered to the zone of inhabited or the list of inhabited zones. Yes, cat, I see you. And because of that, it just despawned whenever I went into it. Although why it was the only one that despawned, I'm not entirely sure. Out of sync. I think that's the thing I was talking about. Dictionary. Woods layout new 318. 318. Yep. Okay, I was right. So I need to cache this as a list, and then I have to do a for loop, which is fine. Okay, so we're going to say on player enter zone, although that really does suck because that's going to mean every single time I leave, it's going to despawn. It's going to do all that stuff. I could probably build a data tree. That would probably work. Well, for now, let's focus on getting it spawning and despawning properly. I found one that did. Still wasn't done 100% right. An integration add-on. Do you mean like they were using something in a Unity package? Tempted to send the files to the asset does get them to add it. Yeah. Yeah, so at work, I'm the guy who builds our DLLs to include into projects. We basically switched from having source code in client projects to having just DLLs, so that we can, one, get the benefit of not having to compile all those scripts, and two, it allows us to just give them the project without giving our source code over. But for extensions for things like addressables or TextMesh Pro, which are built-in Unity files, we can't use DLLs because they may not exist in the project, and also because there's a bunch of things that have to be that have to exist for the DLL to compile correctly. So it's not really a good idea to do that. Also, DLLs compile before assembly definition files and the package manager. So basically, for Unity extensions, we have assembly definition files that we use, and when I export those DLLs, I basically have this nice single package that you can import into the project, and it has all of our stuff in it. But to make sure all of the asset extension packages work properly, I have to export them from our source control, or our source code repo, which is using assembly definitions for our own code. But then I bring that into a separate project that has our DLLs, which therefore no longer can be targeted by assembly definition files because they're just DLLs. And then I have to remove all of those empty fields, and then I have to make sure that everything is like nice and neat and functions and it works. And I know that's quite a bit of steps, but it's not really that time consuming to do that, and that those couple of steps that I take would make third-party assets way better on the asset store because then they would be completely self-contained. They would properly function if they were using Unity extensions, and they would not bloat people's frickin' folder structure. But no, people on the asset store just don't bother with that. The asset had a sub-asset. Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. That makes it somewhat difficult. Anyway, so we're going to go ahead and do this. We're going to just comment out this for each loop. And we're just going to put this in a for loop. So we're going to say for int I equals 0, I is less than positions dot count, I plus plus. And then we're going to go ahead and say, that's fine. Basically just this. Oh, actually, no, we don't even need to do that, do we? Now we do. So we're going to say, if not, current buffers dot contains positions of I, despawn section, positions of I, followed by col ID. Pretty straightforward there. We're going to go ahead and do basically the same thing, which I suppose means that I should just go ahead and do this. Probably just move this up to here, because that should be the same regardless. Then we have another for loop, which is actually going to be 2. That's going to be nested for loop, because of course it is. No, it's not. Let's go ahead and copy this. And paste this. Pose. So I think. Hold on. And okay, I lied. Boo. Boo. Okay. I might do this the other way though. Nope. I have to go through the wrap buffers. Cool. So we're just gonna do positions of. I'm gonna call that O. I know that's not correct. Don't worry, I will fix this in a second. I am a creature of habit, so I must come before J. And this is now going to be I, and this is going to be I, and then we're going to do a for loop for int I equals 0, I is less than positions of I. Nope, not that. Sorry, count. I plus plus. Okay. And that is all we really need to do there. Break out of our for loop each time. All right, let's try this. So now we won't be modifying the dictionary while we're inside of it, because we will have already cached those values. Sore arm for some reason. Not sure why. Blah. Alright, let's go ahead and clear this. Let's go ahead and play. Let's see how terrible this goes. Did I even fix the problem? I didn't. Of course, I fixed the other problem, but I didn't fix the main one. So this is just gonna fail again right away. Let's go ahead and fix that. We're gonna say inhabited sections dot add. Chord. I think that's fine. No, it's not. It's not. It's not good enough. This has to. It's not good enough. This has to change. Yeah. This also needs to be a dictionary. All right. So we're gonna say current section index. guess that's fine. So we're going to say dictionary with this. It's going to be equal to a new dictionary, blah, blah, blah. Oh, dear. Because of course. Oh, right, and it's not actually good enough for that. So I need to change this because we don't want it to be a dictionary of collection IDs and vector twos. We want it to be a dictionary of Woods layout and vector twos. Or I'm sorry, a dictionary of layout collection IDs and lists of vector twos. So dictionary Woods layout collection ID followed by that. This is terrible. Is equal to this. So now we can come all the way back here. And it's not just a matter of this. We have to do a for loop or for each loop. Gross. Okay, so we're going to do for each collection ID, col ID in inhabited sections dot keys. And then we're basically just going to have to do this. Oh, you're going to make me do that, aren't you? So we got to move this into here. There's going to be inhabited sections of col ID dot count. And then we're going to go ahead and do basically this. So boop and boop. Okay, so that's that. Let's go ahead and get rid of this. I hate doing for each loops, and I hate doing nested for loops in for each loops. Oh my god, this is one of the grossest things I think I've ever written. And yet it's the best way I can think to do this because it has to be this complex. Ugh. Ugh. Okay. So let's see here. Also, I'm going to try to say this. Urge through. Urge through? Thank you for the follow. So, what we want to do here is we want to say a couple of things. If not inhabited sections dot contains key collection ID, so if that's not the case, we're going to say inhabited sections of collection ID is equal to new that. And then we're basically just going to say, yeah, okay, we're just going to say inhabited sections of collection ID dot add our coordinate. For on player exit zone, it should not be possible for them to not have this, so I don't need to do that safety check. And instead, I can say inhabited sections of collection ID dot remove coord. So that should properly handle that. Let's go ahead and try that now. All right. And this should have us spawn and despawn everything appropriately. And if that's the case, that's the layout manager that we need. All that would be left at that point is a final cleanup call to basically force everything to clean up properly. So this should despawn everything like we would expect. Okay, so let's try this. No! The only one! Null reference, huh? Oh? Sections of collection ID of coord. You're null? Interesting. Interesting. How on earth can that happen? sections, collection ID of chord. When we spawn a section, we set sections collection ID of chord to be that section. Otherwise, if it already contains those values, we basically just return it as is. So how is it being set to null? We're removing you somehow, aren't we? Hold on. Sections of collection ID of chord. Section, we remove it. Remove the coordinate, spawn sections. We've added as well. Okay. Recycle section, not game object. So that's okay. Buffers, despawn section. I never directly remove anything. Interesting. So woods layout 42. It's just there. Huh. How on earth does that happen? It should be impossible for it to. So basically, if it has the key right here, which is what these checks are doing, if it has those keys, it can't be null because we don't set things to be null. We just recycle them and then we remove them entirely from the list. This is interesting. Sections, collection ID, chord, sections, spawn sections, add. So this is curious because it definitely despawned the player, or not the player, the section. Like it got rid of it, it recycled it. I guess let's throw in a debug here. Debug.log string.form, not compare ordinal, format. So we're going to say this followed by this, and this is going to be chord followed by collection ID. Okay, let's let that go. I'm wondering if that null reference is coming out from a separate. Oh, nope, I know what it is. Okay. Right. Well, no, that doesn't make sense. Um, I was thinking that it might be because of the empty sections when we spawn. To show you what I mean, let's go up to SOS, text request, woods layout. I'm going to grab my entrance. I was thinking it might have been one of these null sections. These are just empty sections. There's nothing there. They don't spawn in anything. But if that's the case, the coordinate should still not exist, which means that we would still return. And then up here, you can see that when we spawn stuff, we basically get the collection, and then we say, okay, give me the element, and if the element ID, the type of it, is set to none, which is what those empty fields are, we just return, which should return nothing. Which shouldn't do anything, really. So, okay, let's just see what happens. Maybe that's why. Or maybe there's something weird going on in my logic. Anything weird? No. I think we're good there, so let's try this. No, I almost made it. 614, it looks like. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and not try to be clever, and I'm just going to walk into it to make sure that I don't accidentally trigger multiple things, because it's possible that I clipped the other the other section, which would have given me an extra value there. Okay. Let's try this again. All right. So 614 on the entrance. Go to window, SOS, text quest. Let's layout. I'm going to grab this on the entrance. So we're looking at 614 here, which is none. That is it is an empty thing. I'm not entirely sure why you exist. Or why you would be detected before 510? Okay. Make sure these are all the same. Okay, so 510 is here. 514 is here. Why did we go to 614? Very strange. I suppose I could change this a little bit. Um, as a matter... Oh, actually, no, that would be good for me to do anyway. So as a matter of... Let's see. Let's get buffer coordinates. Let's go to definition here. So we're going to add buffer size. Oh man, I'm not happy about that. So I guess that means that we're going to say if rows of basically this rows of that dot elements of this dot ID does not equal none. We basically wanted to do, geez, my keyboard all messed up. We basically don't want to add these to the list of coordinates that are returned because that will not actually do anything useful for us if it's none. If it's none, it doesn't need to be evaluated because nothing got spawned. Let's try this. Okay, so it is x plus 1, and this is y minus j. Okay, so we're going to paste this. Clearly did this in like the worst way possible. This is going to be x minus, and then just go ahead and copy this, paste you, x minus, and then minus j. Not exactly great, but this shouldn't be too imperformant. Let's go ahead and grab this stuff. Let's see if ignoring that value will give us what we want. It's odd. I don't really know why 614 would be a thing, but not 414. Because we're right in the middle of the two of them, which means they both should have been spawned. Granted, nothing spawned there because it wasn't really a thing, but still. Got the hiccups for some reason. It's quite vexing. Okay. Okay, so no null references, but we're also despawning the one thing that I don't want to despawn, the most important thing that I do not despawn, and yet for some reason it is despawning. We remove this coordinate despawn section buffers, which we call here. Oh, and this should also be despawn section. Could that have been why? That would make sense. That would, no, well, no. Oh, crap. You're going to break. Oh, crap. Stop playing. I don't know why Unity does that sometimes, where the play button it won't stop playing unless you click pause first and then you stop. I don't know, it does that sometimes. So we spawn this. Despawn section buffers. We come up to here. We grab buffers. We go through all of our inhabited sections, and yet it doesn't seem to bother with it. Are my IDs incorrect? That'd be messed up. Let's give this one more try, see if that last change fixed it. And if not, I'm probably going to call it a night there. I'm going to dig into this to figure out why exactly it's not despawning properly. Why is it just the one? It's I don't understand why you are incorrect. Actually, no, before we stop, I am going to try something. So I'm going to come down to here. I'm going to debug. So debug.log string.format. I'm going to say entering coordinate collection ID. Okay, we're going to copy that, paste this down here. We're going to change this to exiting. Okay, let's give that a second to compile. Okay, clear that. Let's see what happens here. The only thing I can think of is that for some reason it's not detecting that the player is entering it properly, and therefore it's just not. Wait, I might know why it's doing that actually. Cool. So the key not found thing was probably because. Right. I think the problem is that when I call get wrap buffers on all this stuff, um, basically what happens is it doesn't include itself, which means that in addition to doing this fun stuff, I need to say, I need to add the inhabited sections, uh, basically all of my inhabited sections, essentially. So we're going to go ahead and say, oh man, I don't really know which one to look into there. I don't want to assume current buffers or wrap buffers. It might need to go in both, which would be gross and terrible. Um, okay. Sure. Yeah. All right. So I need to do both. Don't I? Yeah. All right. I think this means that I want to do this. Current buffers dot add, and we're going to say inhabited sections col ID of I. That should add that vector 2 coordinate. to our current buffers, and then we'll need to say warp buffers dot add new what's layout data, and then we're just going to say this again, followed by col ID, followed by top. It doesn't really matter. That should fix the issue. Basically, my problem was that even though I was paying, actually, I suppose I could change that around. Oh man, how do I want to handle this? Let's see. I'd have to do it in both of these. I suppose that would be better. All right. Well, this should have the same effect. It's a matter of optimization in this case. So this adds a bunch of values, but it should make sure that we don't despawn properly, or we don't despawn things incorrectly. And then the next step would probably be to optimize that a little bit. So instead of adding a bunch of values, we would merely compare values that we're looking at to make sure that they don't despawn. And oh, good. Hooray! I think we're working. That certainly looks like it. I'm going to turn off maximize on play, and I want to just see it in action. Oh, that is. Is that working? I think it's working. Oh, oh, oh. Getting all of those key not found exceptions. All right, well, we got things despawning and spawning, but I clearly need to fix a couple of issues here. So I think that's a good place to stop for the night. I will clean this up, and then on Thursday we are going to be looking at fog effects. Specifically, I'm going to try to. I think I have a crazy harebrained idea about how to make fog look the same across all of the forest, regardless of where you are, even if you're in the middle of a warp. And it involves controlling random seeds. So we'll see if that theory pans out. I'm not 100% sure that it will or not, but hopefully it'll be something that's at the very least interesting. And then once we have that, that's basically actually the woods. Everything from there is all about set dressing, just to make that that level feel a little bit more interesting to explore. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and call it there. Announcements. I don't think I have anything off the top of my head. So we should be good for a regular streaming schedule this week. I'm tired, can you tell? A regular streaming schedule this week, so we should be good for streaming on Thursday, and I think we're good for streaming on Saturday. If not, we'll do a stream on Sunday. I'll talk about it in the Discord if something comes up, but I don't anticipate anything right now. So yeah, I think that's a pretty good place to stop for the night. So, as always, I want to thank you all very much for watching, and I will see you all next time.